What's up, guys? Greetings from the media room in Alumni Hall at the Naval Academy. I just finished writing up my game story, VCU 80, Boston College 55, tonight in the 11th Annual Veterans Classic. We just got finished with media availability over here in the press room. Talked to Philip Russell, Brandon Jennings, and Coach Odom. After a resounding win for VCU, a defensive clinic, I think particularly after the Bellarmine game on Monday, in which VCU obviously looked outstanding offensively, but there were some defensive breakdowns in that game. It's incredibly encouraging for them to hold an ACC opponent tonight. It's 55 points. Chad Fenning, who VCU fans know well from St. Bonaventure, who obviously gave them fits last year, only attempted 5 field goals, finished with 8 points. VCU did an outstanding job of doubling the ball out of his hands all night. Coach Odom had talked about earlier in the week how they had a plan for teams who are going to pound the ball inside against them, because that was obviously a liability last year, and they had that conversation in the offseason about how a team that's built to largely play small, and doesn't have a true 7-footer who can match up with big players like Venning in the post. They moved around, they rotated defensively, aggressively doubled, did not let him catch deep in the post or get any kind of position for him to thoroughly back anyone down. Christian Furman, his post defense was great tonight, but it was a team effort. It was everyone down there in limiting Venning. For VCU, the scoring spread pretty well. Philip Russell, 20 points. Joe Bamasil, 18 points. Phil, 5 of 9 from the floor, 8 of 12 from the free throw line. He got to the line really consistently tonight. Joe, 6 of 14 from the floor, 3 of 8 from 3. And Phil hit 2 threes. Jack Clark hit 2 threes. He was 2 of 5 from beyond the arc, finished with 10 points and 7 rebounds. But VCU only 8 of 27 from three-point range, which I really think is encouraging as well. That's obviously not a great three-point performance. I think that's, what is that, right about 30% for VCU from beyond the arc for the game, 29.6%. So I think that's VCU showing that they can win in a few different ways, right? Obviously lit it up from outside, made 15 threes against Bellarmine on Monday, and this is a team that wants to shoot a lot from outside and will throughout the season, but they're not one-dimensional. They got to the cup. They drew contact tonight. 20 of 29 from the free throw line is a pretty good clip to get there. I guess would like to make as a team at a little bit higher clip. That's 69% as a team. And 26 of 60 from the field and only 8 3-point field goals. I mean, they attacked the basket tonight. It was a different offensive approach to what we saw against Bellarmine. And really, I think you got to start on the defensive end. I mean, early on here in that game, I saw the sense of urgency that Coach Odom talked about, that he's been excited about, that his team has played with early on this season. And they were diving on the floor. They were going after loose balls. They were winning the 50-50 balls. Philip Russell, I think, has really set the tone with his intensity on the court for this team. He was obviously interacting with the fans at the Siegel Center on Monday, and he drew an offensive foul tonight in a moment that stood out to me when VCU forced a turnover on a Boston College inbounds, when Phil, I think, was kind of getting under the man who he was guarding skin, as he can do, and the guy kind of let out a bit of an elbow trying to create separation, and Phil sold it really well and got the offensive foul and a turnover on that possession. So that's the kind of thing he can do. I think the rest of this team is feeding off of his intensity right now. Brandon Jennings. We talked to Brandon Jennings in the postgame, and man, he only scored 2 points, but he played. It was his first points in a VCU uniform, so great moment for Brandon. We asked him about that afterward. He said it put a smile on his face. It was just a little putback right before halftime, but he played 25 minutes and 25 seconds in this game. 1 of 4 from the field, 2 steals, a turnover, an assist, 4 rebounds. Nothing that really amazingly jumps out at you on the stat sheet, but he was 17 over on the plus minus, and it's clear that the St. Christopher's alum, the 2023 All-Metro Player of the Year, has done a lot to earn Coach Odom's trust early on here with him playing that kind of minutes. This early in the season, Coach Odom talked a lot about the intangibles that Brandon offers to this team. He does all the little things well. There was a sequence there in that first half where he came over across the court to double Venning when I think it was Firm who was guarding him in the post. And Brandon covered the length of the floor to get over and double, forced Venning to kick out of the double team. And then the guy that the ball rotated to over on the left wing tried to drive, and Brandon ended up tying him up to get a jump ball. Those are the plays that aren't gonna, make major numbers on the stat sheet, but they're winning basketball plays. And Brandon is making those right now. And I think Coach Odom really values his commitment to the little things. And that's why he's playing as much as he is as a true freshman, man. Christian Furman was really efficient. Offensively, he kind of looked like he did in his best moments last year, right? He played 23-55, 5 of 7 from the floor, 12 points, 2 rebounds, an assist, 2 blocks. Was a very good rim protector tonight, 25 over plus minus. Hit that push shot that he loves in the lane and on the baseline a few times, a couple little turnaround hooks, on dump offs. I think it was Joe quite a few times. And Joe finished with 3 assists. Joe, I think all 3 of those were to Firm, I want to say, or at least 2 of them were, where Joe would drive, collapse the defense a little bit, draw help from the big, and then hit Firm with a bounce pass in good post position. He was able to hit one of those turnarounds or a little push shot. And it's a really efficient offensive night from him. Jack Clark, 10 points, 7 rebounds, 20 over plus minus. I think he continues to be a revelation for this team early on in his first action for VCU. He had a couple of, what did he finish? 2 of 5 from 3. Really stretches the floor. You know what I noticed from him is the book is obviously out that he's a good shooter, and he's very good at using the up fake. He obviously made a couple threes tonight. He has a quick release. It's compact. It looks smooth. It looks like a guard's jump shot, not a big's jump shot, which makes a lot of sense given Jack's background. He started college at LaSalle, listed as a guard. But once his man starts biting on that up fake, then he's really good at using that to then drive off of the attention that he's getting on the perimeter, collapse the defense, and create for other guys around him. So I thought he was great tonight too. Phil and Joe continue to be the leading offensive duo, right? And I think that with a team that relied so heavily on Max Shulga early on last season, that's exciting to see, right? Max, 2 of 7 from the floor tonight, 5 of 7 from the line, 10 rebounds, 9 points, 4 assists, 12 over plus minus. I think Shulga is able to be more of a facilitator for this team, and he can commit more on the defensive end. He can get more involved in the rebounding battle this year, A, because he's healthy, because he's not dealing with the sports hernia that he was dealing with all of last year, and B, because this team has other options that they can go to offensively. Phil and Joe, it looks like, are the primary scorers for this team right now. And I think in big games, you're still going to see Shulga be the go-to guy late when they need a bucket, because he's the best pure scorer on this team. But he doesn't need to carry them offensively right now. And I think that's a boon for this VCU team, that they've got a lot of different options to go to offensively right now and don't have to lean on one guy. Michael Bell played 18-29, 4 points, 2 assists, a steal, 15 over plus minus, 4 rebounds. He continues to just do all of the gritty little things to help this team win, rebound, play defense. The offensive game is still coming along, but man, he's playing winning basketball right now. And I think it's becoming clear that Coach Odom sets a lot of store in those things, right? That's why Brandon Jennings is playing so much right now. That's why Michael Bell is playing so much right now. They're not necessarily guys, that are going to stuff the stat sheet offensively and fill it up and take a bunch of shots and be volume scorers, man. But they're making little plays to help this basketball team win games. And man, a 25-point win over an ACC opponent on a neutral floor is an incredible result for VCU early on here without Zeb Jackson, their captain, one of their best players, a preseason All-A-10 pick. BC is probably going to finish toward the bottom of the ACC this year, and so I don't think you want to get too worked up about the margin of victory here. But it's obviously a wonderful result for VCU early on here. It's a wonderful result for the Atlantic 10 to have one of the teams expected to compete at the top of the conference with a comprehensive win over an ACC school. Boston College never led. I think we had a few ties there in that first half. VCU kind of kept them at arm's length. And then there was a sequence there in that second half where you had a Bama Seal 3 from the top of the key. And VCU just created separation. I think that Russell play that he drew the offensive foul was right in there as well. And it never really felt like Boston College was in this game. Even early on, I think they cut it to maybe 23-18 after VCU jumped out to a 21-8 lead early on there. And so a great result for VCU. And I want to talk about the experience at the Naval Academy a little bit too, because Coach Odom talked about that. This is his second time here. He took his Utah State team here. He lived in Annapolis for a little bit, and I think that he sets a lot of value in what his team takes away from this event off the court. The guys talked about that in the post-game press conference, I'm going to write about it a little bit for a story that's going online tomorrow. I'll also have takeaways online in the morning, talking about the things that we learned today from this game. I think I'm going to write a good deal about Brandon Jennings and the role that he played in this win tonight for that story. But I'm going to write about a column about the whole experience that this program had at the Naval Academy this weekend, getting to see what the lifestyle is like for midshipmen. They had lunch with, I believe they said 4,400 midshipmen in the mess hall for them. They heard the superintendent speak. They heard a Marine Corps veteran who lost his vision after stepping on an IUD in combat, and just a lot of life lessons that resonated with these guys, being able to see what our armed service men and women do on a daily basis and the work that they put in to protect all of us back here at home. And so I think the guys are going to come home to Richmond with a lot more than an 80-55 win over Boston College tonight from this trip, which is obviously the intent that Coach Odom had in scheduling this and having his program be a part of an event that obviously means a great deal to him. Director of Basketball Operations, Kelsey Naki, by the way. Cool nugget, this is her third Veterans Classic. She's been to it every 3 years, and she is undefeated. Went to it with Maryland one year, and then with Utah State, and now with VCU, and her team has won every time that she's been here. So I talked to Kelsey about what this event means to her. That'll be in that column that's going to go in a Sunday or Monday's paper, I think, ahead of Veterans Day. And Lido Pizza, by the way, I wasn't familiar. I'd never had it before, but it's part of the spread here. As you guys can see behind me, the media table's over there. I've eaten an exorbitant amount and will continue to do so. And it's really good pizza. So if you're ever up in the Annapolis or Baltimore area, I highly suggest it if you've never partaken. So we got to see the Marine Corps silent drill team, the Jolly Rogers, at halftime too, which is an incredibly cool experience. So my dad was Navy for 35 years. He was super excited that I was coming up here, and so this has been a special experience for me. And I think it sounds like a special experience for Coach Odom and the VCU basketball programs. They're taking a win back to Richmond, VCU to 2-0, put on a defensive clinic tonight. I haven't talked about that enough, how good this team was defensively. Boston College, 17 of 58 from the field, 29.3%, 2 of 11 from three. The closeouts were crisp and aggressive. Like I said, VCU was winning the 50-50 balls, diving all over the floor. This team showed a defensive intensity that I think VCU teams of the past would be really proud of tonight, and especially after you kind of put on an offensive clinic on Monday in the season opener against Bellarmine, and to put forth this sort of defensive performance and hold BC to 55 on a neutral floor is incredibly promising for this team moving forward. So thank you guys so much for following along the coverage. This is On the Horn with Zach Joachim, and I'll see y'all soon.